Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today, I'm redoing a video that I've already done before on the channel. This is the top 5 best cars for under $500,000 in Grand Theft Auto Online. Let's get into it. So guys, at number 5, we have the Enos Huntley S. This thing is coming in at $195,000. It's super sick. It's a really cool SUV. Super underrated as well, and I never see anyone driving this thing in online, so I would say it is quite rare. Let's hop inside it. We're gonna go for a little spin real quick. Now this car is actually very fast. For an SUV, it's it's very quick. For a car that came out in, I believe, 2014 or 2015, it still holds up to some of the newer SUVs like the Tauros. The Tauros is going to be faster than this thing, that's for sure, but this thing will actually be able to hold its own, I would say. It also kind of likes to drift a lot, which is, kind of a cool feature, I guess. It's not really noteworthy or anything, but it does do these like kind of crazy power slides. If you get it going fast enough at the right angle and whatnot, you can actually drift this thing pretty well, surprisingly. So anyway, guys, that's at number 5. Let's move right into number 4. Alright guys, coming in at number 4, we have the Grotty Carbonizer coming in at $195,000. This thing is a wicked pickup for 195 grand, guys. Let's hop into it here. I'm going to show you some of the cool features with it. It's a sports car. It's very unique because it actually has a convertible. So, not many cars in Grand Theft Auto are convertible. There's a decent amount of them, but this is one of them. And for less than 500K, I'd say pretty cool feature. Now, this thing is definitely not one of the fastest sports cars, especially not by today's standards, but even back in the day, it really wasn't that fast. However, I think it's just like a cruiser car, or just for a car to go on a drive with your friends. I think this thing is a really good car for that. On mine, I have the chrome rims on it, and obviously in red. It's got the dual exhaust on it, and it's honestly a really nice car to just drive around. Most people really like this car, so you will get some compliments for sure, and taking it to car meets is not a bad idea either. You might not win every race, but it is still a very cool car, and I never see anyone driving this thing in online. Very unique, very underrated. Definitely would recommend picking up a Grotty Carbonizer for 195 grand. Let's move right into number 3. Alright guys, next up at number 3, we have the Pagani INFINITY. This car is very old. This car goes for $440,000, and for that price, I think it is a good car. The reason it's at number 3 and not higher in the list is because it is towards the higher end of the price range, but the performance might not be, as good for the money as the top 2 cars. So with that being said, let's hop inside it. Now the Infernus is a very classic car. Obviously it was in Grand Theft Auto 4, as I'm sure some of you will know. It is pretty fast. It's not the slowest car ever, that's for sure. It does have a spoiler option, which is nice. Definitely, it is good to get that added traction bonus. I always thought that this car was 4-wheel drive, but it is actually only rear-wheel drive. So that's a bit of a interesting feature, I guess, with this car. I always thought it was 4-wheel drive, but it is in fact rear. The back of the car is a little bit ugly, but other than that, the rest of the car I think looks pretty fantastic. I have no complaints at the front end of the car, but the back end is a little bit ugly. If you're willing to look past that for $440,000, it is a pretty fantastic car. Let's move right into number 2. Alright guys, so at number 2 we have the Dinka Jester. You cannot go wrong with this car for $240,000. There's a lot that you can do to this car. Its performance is pretty good as well, and I just generally like the look of it too. It has a lot of customization options like I mentioned before. The front bumper is one of them, the hood, the roof scoop, the skirts, the spoiler, the rear bumper and diffuser, and the exhaust, as well as the engine cover in the back here, are all options, as well as some other things. Obviously you can change the rims and the window tint and whatnot and the plate, but I think it's a really cool car, especially for $240,000. I don't think that you can go wrong with it. We're going to hop inside it here, and we're going to take it for a little spin. It's obviously not the fastest car. It's definitely not the fastest car in the sports category because the Italia GTO and the RSX exist, but for $240,000, it is a pretty good performer, I would say. It pretty much does it all. It accelerates decently well, the top speed is pretty good as well, and the handling is very good. Especially once you add the spoiler option, this car handles very well. I would definitely recommend picking up one of these, probably more than any other vehicle on this list. However, the only reason it's at number 2 is because there is a vehicle that performs a little bit better than it. It is just a little bit more expensive. With that being said, let's move right into number 1. Alright guys, at number 1 we have the Grotty Turismo R, coming in right at the top of our budget for $500,000. Now, for the 500 grand, I know you're probably saying, well, you're right at the top of the budget. Why is the car at number one? The reason that it's at number one is because I think it is one of the best looking cars on the list, and it's definitely the best performer on the list. For $500,000, you cannot go wrong with this car. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It handles well, it accelerates well, and has a decent top speed, even in 2021. Definitely not going to win any races against, other newer supercars with this thing, but I would say it is still worth the price. I think it's a very good looking car. I don't think anyone can dispute that. The front end could use a little work maybe, but I think other than that, the car is very solid looking. The exhaust sound of the car is also really cool. And on the startup of the car, the Turismo actually has a very unique feature where it revs up the car automatically without you doing anything, and it sounds really cool. It also has a spoiler option, so if you don't like how it handles stock, you can always add a spoiler. The spoilers don't look too bad on this car either. I think they all, they all kind of work with it. Anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed this, if you learned something, leave a like. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Peace.